So this evening, join us for core yoga, starting in a sitting posture. So depending on how your day's been, how tight your hips are, whether you've been sitting, moving around at all, it can make a little bit of difference to how these guys feel. So let yourself find what you consider an easy sitting posture. I mean, technically there is a pose in yoga called easy sitting pose, but it's not necessarily easy, depending on those caveats I just declared. So let yourself find your own place, a little stretch out, and then when you feel settled, you're just going to hold the hands up and start to roll the wrists around. Little circles, see how that feels. See how it feels generally in the wrist area, but also in the forearms. Whether it's easy to make circles, or whether it's a little bit squarer, a bit boxy. And then we'll just shake out the fingers a little bit. And take the hands down by the side. And we'll take a little twist through to the left side. Try and lift the chest up over touch. So there's a possibility that we're pushing the pelvis forwards a fraction. And then we'll rotate around to the other side. Taking a few breaths here. Getting lots of space in the spine, lifting the chest, lifting the heart, lifting the crown of the head, relaxing the shoulders down, and the hips and the thighs. And then coming back into the center, we'll just bring the hands onto the collarbones, elbows together. I want to draw some angel wings. So elbows up high, rolling them out to the side and then across the body again. Getting a little bit of flex and extension through the spine. Take that in the opposite direction a couple of times. And then we'll release. We're going to make our way onto all fours. And I'm going to leave the block front end of the mat. And I'm going to move into cat-cows and maraud a little bit from side to side. Allow yourself to lift the paws from the floors. Spit out the fingers. And then when you're ready, we're going to inhale the chest forwards. And exhale, draw the belly in a little. Spine again, depending on how much moving around you've had an opportunity to do today. It will depend a little bit on how you can approach this. You might need to start small and build in, getting the spine a little juicy, but it might already have that mobility available to you, in which case you can lift a little more, press into the hands a little stronger. Really trying to activate the abdominal muscles as you draw in. Regardless of how high or low you take the spine. And then we'll come back into neutral position. We'll tuck the toes of the right foot under and slide the foot back. I'm going to come into a baby side plank. So I'm just going to drop the foot down and then take the left foot off to the side a little bit. And as I open my chest to the right side, I'm going to press the hips towards the right side a little bit, and also press down into the foot behind me, and strangely enough, press down into the hand below me. So I'm starting to feel the stretch down the side of the body and a little bit on the lifting bottom side as well. hands down to the floor, back onto all fours. So on the left foot, drop the heel in, bend the right foot off, press the hips over to the left, sole of the foot to the floor, palm of hand downwards. Coming back to the floor again. We'll tuck the toes. Well, we won't. We'll take the knees out wide first. Sit back into a child pose. Just walking the hands out. Comfortable distance, so the shoulders have a chance to open, but don't feel like they're stretching out too much. You can be as still as you wish in your child's pose, or you can rock around a little bit. Tiny little micro movements, just moving yourself from side to side, rolling the shoulders around a little bit, if that feels good. Or you can be completely still, whatever works for you, whatever you need. And then we're going to take that into a side bend. So we'll walk over to the right first of all. A little lift and then laying the ribs back down into the thigh on the right side. The hands are about shoulder distance apart. Be careful that we don't pull the head around too far. We want to have this feeling of following a nice arch from the base of the spine through the middle of the back and letting the head and the neck follow that line. And we'll lift gently so that we can cross over to the opposite side. Again, just giving the shoulders a little chance to breathe and stretch out. Again, you've got the choice of being still or a little bit more creative. Move your shoulders around a little bit. Tiny little lifts and stretches, sort of quarter of an inch, half an inch, maybe in magnitude, but can make a lot of difference to how you feel. And we'll come back into the center and we'll lift up into down dog. So bring the knees back under, shoulders over the wrists, tuck the toes underneath, and we'll lift up into our down dog. Ooh, crack in the toe there. Just see how we feel about our down dog, whether we need to walk or whether we need to be still, whether we can drop the chest down a little more, whether we need to lift it up. Do we need to bend the knees a little bit to get the spine a little flatter, flat? Do we need to draw the belly in a little more, or maybe press the heels towards the back of the mat? We're confident our hands are flat to the floor. That's just a few questions we can ask whilst we're in down dog. We'll walk the feet towards the front of the mat, legs stay straight, kind of walking on tippy toes on the ball of the foot as far as we can, and then we'll get to a point where everything gets a little bit sticky, and we'll bring the feet flat to the floor and then walk all the way into the front of the mat. We'll bring the hands onto the shins once you arrive, and let ourselves lift up halfway, tailbone back, chest forwards, weight into the toes, fold over the thighs a little more, still bend the knees a fraction, just so that you don't press into the back of the legs too much. Allow yourself to lift again with the hands onto shins and fold down. One more time, lifting up. And folding in. Let's step back into down dog. We're going to wave into planks. We'll drop the knees so that the thighs are now vertical. Lift the abdominal muscles up. Start to round the spine as we push out into a plank. Lift the hips high, back into down dog. Drop the knees to that vertical line on the side. Draw the belly in and roll through. You can hear the effort as I try to bring the abdominals into action there. Into down dog. slowly bring ourselves into the forward fold again. So we'll walk the feet through to the front of the mat. Straightish legs, feet stay hip distance apart. Come up to the front of the mat. Hands onto the hips this time, soften the knees a little bit, flat back to lift up. Inhale high, hands to the sky. And through the heart. Exhale out slow and low. Fingers to the floor. I'm going to take the right foot to the back of the mat. It's a lunge. We'll let the hips drop a little bit, keep the front knee over the ankle. And then we'll drop the back here and ready for warrior two. So you can bring the hands alongside the body, take the lift, and then draw the right arm forwards and up into your warrior two, or bring the hands onto your thighs to lift, your choice. Now we'll turn the palm on the front hand. Take that high, drop the other hand down onto your thigh. Allow yourself to walk your fingers down your thigh and stretch your body towards the back of the mat. So you're lifting up out of the pelvis, keeping the front knee bent as it was. Welcome back into warrior two and take extended side angle. So we're slowly lengthen out. Bring that forearm onto the front thigh. Draw the top arm up. Bring the head and neck in line with the spine, and then turn that top palm forwards and lengthen the arm out towards the front of the mat. Pressing the bottom arm lightly into the side to draw the knee a little more towards little toe. Rotating the chest round, long side of the mat. Take a little breath from here. Allow the hands to come back down to the floor on the inside. So easy drop in. Walk the fingers around to the long side of the mat and turn the toes in. Spine is very long. Bring the right hand to the floor underneath us. We'll rotate the body to the left and then draw that left elbow up and simply extend the left hand towards the sky. And then bring it back down. Come to the floor, repeat to the opposite side. So just gentle twists. Keeping the feet pressing down into the floor. Once you get the hang of the twist, squeezing the thighs together very lightly. Try to keep the shoulders soft. Legs want to be strong. They are, after all, holding you up. Now we'll bring the hands back down to the floor. Walk around to the front of the mat. Step it back into down dog. Bend the knees and wave into plank. And back into down dog. Bend the knees. Wave all the way to the plank. As like I'm going wee. Back into down dog. Soften the knees. Hold it through. Now this time as we come into plank, we'll draw the right knee in towards the chest and bring the foot through for lunge. And we'll press off the toes on the back into our forward fold. And the hands onto the hips, soft knees, flat back. Lift up and we'll draw that to the opposite side. Inhale high, hands to the heart, weight into the toes, a little softness in the knees. Left foot back into our lunge. Fingertips. So drop the heel in, hands alongside the body, left arm forwards. Use that to ease ourselves up into warrior two. Make sure the back leg is activated. You should feel the inner thigh working. Under the thigh lifting, the buttock draws in a little bit as you press down. That way you know everything is activated. Now turn the palm on the front hand, take that hand high, drop the other hand down onto the thigh, take a breath in. On the exhale, walk the fingers down and stretch the body over, rear-wise to the mat. Again, keep the chest open to the side. Avoid letting yourself roll into the pose. Lift up out of the pelvis. Strong legs pressing down. You'll feel like you're having to do a lot more work, but it'll actually feel safer and easier in the legs once you get that connection to fire up. We'll come back into warrior two. Extend ourselves out into the side angle pose. We'll bring the hands down onto the inside. Walk the fingers around. Turn the toes in. Same as we did before. We're going to lead with the left hand on the floor. Turn to the right. Put the hand up slowly. Bring it down as we exhale. Inhale. Draw ourselves to the opposite side. Remember to keep the feet pressing down, tailbone back. Keep the spine nice and long so you're revolving around rather than dropping your hips. And moving about. Try and keep the rear end, as they say, as stable as possible. Try and keep the shoulders soft. I know that's not easy to do. Bring the hands to the floor and walk around to the front of the mat. Stepping back into our down dog. Bend the knees and wave forwards into plank. We exhale. Lift up into down dog. Soften the knees. Roll it through. 2 more times. Last time coming forwards. I'll draw the left knee in. Breathe, lunge. So it's quite tricky from plank to lunge. Not the easiest thing in the world. You sort of have to come up onto the fingertips, still pressing out through the back leg to keep it as straight as you can. We'll take a little breath, press off the toes. Exhale into the forward bend and hang down. Hands onto the hips. Start to lift back up. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Fingertip lift. Chest draws forward, spine flattens. Fold it back in. Right foot back and drop the heel in, ready for warrior two. Hands come alongside to assist. Float the right arm up high. And as we arrive, we'll drop the hands behind to come into a humble warrior. Squeeze the shoulder back, hands down. Rotate the chest and hips forwards. Lengthen out. Keep the spine flat so you draw yourself long. Get the ribs and thighs to connect. And then on the next exhale, start to lift the hands and let the head drop. Now release the hands to the floor. Bring them onto the inside of the front foot. Walk around to the long side. Turn the toes in. Take a breath. And walk your hands, both of them, towards the rear foot. See if you can take hold of the ankle. Take a breath. And then on the exhale, fold your body in towards your thigh. Now you don't really, the arms, they're not doing anything. You've got hands around your ankle. You're letting the elbows widen out, drawing your body onto the thigh rather than pulling with the arms. Okay, we're going to release. Walk the fingers all the way around the side towards the front of the mat. Stepping back into our down dog. And forwards into plank. Breath in. Half plank on the tiptoes. Down. Inhale for up dog. Back into down dog. Right knee to the chest and through to lunge. And then exhale. Forward fold. Hands under the hips and we'll lift up high. Hands to the sky, breath in. Through the heart. Exhale to the floor. Fingertips to lengthen. Fold it in. Left foot back into lunge. Drop the heel in. Hands alongside. Left arm draws us up. Warrior two. Come behind the back. Draw the shoulders back as you breathe in. Rotate the body. Stand down. Be conscious of the knee staying over the ankle. Second breath. We drop down deep. Lifting the hands to the sky. Hips over the center line. Pressing into the back foot. And we'll drop the hands to the floor, bring them onto the inside of that front foot. Walk around to the long side, turn the toes in, long spine, and then walk the fingers round to the back foot again. Take hold of the ankle, and then fold ourselves in gently as we exhale. Hands to the floor, walk them around through the long side of the mat, into the front of the mat, step it back into our down dog. Pause in the breath for plank. Exhale, half plank. Inhale, up dog. Roll it into down dog. Left knee through to lunge. Step it into the front of the mat. Hands under the hips. And we lift up. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. We're exhaling down to the floor. Stepping back into down dog. Knees to the ground. And we'll spin the feet out to the side. And lift the legs out into Dandasana. Just draw the flesh around a little bit. Sitting up nice and tall, flexing the feet back. I'm going to take the hands behind, lean out. So we're going to come into reverse tabletop. We're going to take the version where we draw the feet in, sole of the feet flat to the floor about hip distance apart. Keeping the shoulders rolled back, lift the ball off the ground. Take the hips forwards and lift up. Chin in towards the chest, pressing the shoulders down, pressing down through the thighs and the legs, feeling the buttocks, Joining in, hopefully, in the lift. And then we'll ease our way down and move back into that Dandasana, legs out in front. Bring your hands on top of the shins as you breathe in. Soften the knees with a little bit of a lift. Slide forwards into forward fold. And see if you can take the hands around the side of the feet or maybe alongside the ankles. You're going to lift the chest, press the heels away, roll the shoulders back a little bit. Okay, going to release from there. Bring ourselves back up. Bring the feet back, just as we had done before. We're going to do reverse tabletop, but a little further this time. We're going to flow. So we're going to lift up, roll the shoulders back. Bottom goes in towards the heels. We lift the body up. Try to have heels underneath knees and hands underneath shoulders. And then we're going to drop the bottom half an inch from the floor, quite a long way forwards, roll back, pivot on the heels, point the toes forwards, draw the hips back as far as you can. So a little bit of pendulum swing. Come forwards, lift up, back down, slide away, come forwards, press up. Feel the buttocks activate as that happens. Slide back. Ooh, 2 more. Chin in towards the chest. Last one. And ease your bottom down. Shaking out the wrists. I'm going to bring the heels in. And with a bit of luck, you'll be able to fold one foot up. So the toes, and if you can see them, the foot is now sort of on the thigh. Now in the traditional version of Lolasana, the bottom foot, toes would slide through the inside of the thigh and be there, so the legs are locked in. But that just kind of assumes that you've got a lot of mobility in your knees and your hips to do that. So whilst we're waiting for the years to go by, whilst that develops in our bodies, we can still practice the next stage of this pose, which is to take the hands kind of underneath the shoulders a little bit. Allow yourself to spread the fingers. I'm going to take a little breath, draw the belly in, and start to lift the bottom away from the floor. So get a little bit of lightness, and maybe the knees kind of join in a bit. And we're going to take another breath, keep that control in the core, and press the shoulders down to get the bottom to lift off the ground. Probably still got one foot on the floor, not a problem. Everything's a bit shaky and wobbly. And then we'll come back down. And relax. Extend the legs out. And then see if we can cross them over the other way, which could be tricky. Let's see how that feels. Now, for most of us, we're good at kind of crossing the legs one way, not so much the other way. So this feels particularly odd. Okay, hands come down. Take a breath. Start to draw the belly in and lift it up. We're trying to get that lightness in the body again. Allow yourself to get a happy place for the hands. So whether the fingers are pointing forwards, sideways, or whatever, not a problem. We're going to take another breath and then press away from the floor. Get as much height of the buttocks from the ground as we can. Keep the belly drawn in, lifting up. A bit of breathe. And we can come down. That's it, done. Cross the ankles over as a release. Roll onto the shins, come up towards the front of the mat. Tabletop down dog. Walk the feet into the front of the mat. And we'll bring the block not on its tallest setting. So the next one down, we'll just have it in front for the moment. Bring the hands onto the hips and lift up. Draw the hands towards the sky and then in towards the heart. Make sure my feet are parallel and hip distance apart. And soften the knees forwards. We're going to sit back into chair. And draw the belly in. Keep the spine long. So kind of letting my body understand that it needs to do a little bit of work on the front, a little bit of work on the back to keep that spine nice and long. The hinge forwards, keeping the bend in the knees as they were, and take my hands down onto the blocks, so the blocks across the front edge of the mat. Now take a little breath from there. Start to lift the left foot off the ground. Draw the heel in towards the buttock and send that leg out, toes to the floor. Strong, straight leg. At the moment, the block is going crosswise on the mat. I'm going to take the right hand away from the floor and bring it onto the side of the right hip and turn the block with my hand so it's going forwards. And then I'm going to slowly take my right hand forwards and lengthen out. Oops. And I found the wall, which I wasn't expecting to do. It was a little bit further back. But the idea is to have one arm out straight in front, one leg out straight in front, one leg straight down, one arm underneath the shoulder, and use the core muscles to hold yourself up and keep yourself square. Now soften the front knee, bring the back foot in, bring a hand down to the floor, bring that block crosswise again, just makes it easy to find. I'm going to move back a little bit. Don't do the same again. Hands onto the hips, lift the hands high, in towards the heart. Again, just check your feet, parallel, hip distance apart, fractionally wide, fractionally narrow, fractionally twisting out. And this goes from being comfortable to significantly more difficult. Soften the knees. Let ourselves get used to the idea of holding the body up just for a few breaths. I'm just going to work into the opposite leg this time. Okay, hinge forwards, keeping the knees as bent as they were. Bring the block underneath you. Allow yourself to press down into there. Now lift the right foot slowly from the floor. Bring the heel in towards your buttock. Gradually send that back, tight to the hip. Bring your left hand onto your left hip. Turn the right hand forward so the brick is working for you a little bit more. And then slowly take that left hand forwards and lift down. Straight legs, straight arms. Doing the same amount of work through the abdominals and the lower back muscles to hold us as we had in chair. It just feels a little more precarious. Generally imposes the closer we get to the ground, the more nervous we feel. Okay, I'm going to take a little breath from there. Soften the knee, bring the foot down, bring the hand down. Let ourselves move the brick out of the way, or the block rather. Hands come onto the hips and we'll lift up. We'll float the hands high, into the heart. Exhale down to the floor. I'm going to take a down dog into a plank, into a half plank, into an up dog, back into a down dog. We come into plank again, and we'll allow ourselves to take the left hand forwards and bring the elbow down. Take the right hand forwards and bring the elbow down. Clasp the hands together in the center. Make sure the elbows are adjusted underneath the shoulders. Press the shoulders as far away from the ground as you can. Draw the tummy in a little bit, so it feels like you're curling the spine towards the sky. And then let the hips lower to the height that you think your shoulders are. So it takes a little bit of negotiating, sliding the feet back around, etc. And we'll lower the knees to the floor underneath us. Gently sit back onto the heels. Bring the fingertips under the collarbones. Elbows come together for those angel wings. We'll lift up and roll them round. One more. And release. Slide the feet out to the side. And then we'll take the feet out in front. As I do, I'm going to take a little bend into the knees. Walk the hands back so I can come down into my elbows. Arms facing down. Take a little breath from there. Walk the feet in. Try and keep the chest lifting up towards the sky. And you want the elbows underneath the shoulders, about shoulder distance apart. And continue to lift the chest. Palms facing down, as we said. And then we're just going to draw the knees a little more above the pelvis, and then see if we can extend the legs up towards the sky, pointing the toes. On the exhale, we'll lower the left leg half an inch from the floor. Bring that back up slowly. Cross over to the other side. Now, apart from keeping the legs as straight as possible and getting as close to vertical with the legs as we can manage in our body, which will be kind of governed by our hip flexors a little bit and the length of our hamstrings. So we can still have the legs at 90 degrees to the body, but the legs might not be pointing towards the sky directly. We want to avoid letting the lower back move around too much. So you can kind of just keep your fingers in place to monitor that and concentrate as much on the lower back staying in place by drawing the abdominals in as you do through working through the legs. And bend the knees, bring the feet down to the floor. Just ease the elbows out. You can roll the spine gently down and let the head finally to the floor. So making sure we've got enough room behind and in front. We'll take the hands up towards the sky, roll the shoulders down, draw the knees in towards the chest, draw the belly down, and lower spine into the ground, extend the legs up towards the sky. We're going to alternate the legs and arms. So as we exhale, with the right leg, left leg, right arm. Doesn't really matter which way you start. We'll usually try to start on the same side, and then exhale over to the other side again, keeping the legs and arms straight. So again, we can kind of stretch out through the top leg, focus on both leg muscles, the quadriceps, the muscles around the knees, staying engaged. A little bit hard to focus on those when your abdominal muscles are crying out for attention. But let's assume that they can cope and do with what we need them to do. Almost there. And last one. Bring everything high, draw the knees in, and then let one foot at a time come to the floor, arms down by the side of the body. So again, just have a little rock and roll from side to side, a breath here, just a moment. As we're taking that moment, we'll allow the hands to reach back. So the fingers can interlace around the back of the head, and we can lower the elbows down to the floor. We're just letting the spine sink down to the floor naturally. Okay, now we're going to draw the abdominal muscles down towards the spine and consciously get the lower back to touch the floor. Wriggle the toes into the center line and the feet right up in towards your bottom. Squeeze the thighs together just a little bit. On the exhale, we'll bring the chin in towards the chest. On the next exhale, keeping the elbows wide, we'll lift the chest towards the thighs. We'll take another breath and then take the hands past the thighs as we release the head. Come up onto the tippy toe. Extend the legs out for half boat pose. So straight legs, come down. Keep chin in towards the chest. And keep drawing the chest up. Press out through the balls of the feet, spread the toes. And then we'll slowly lift back up. Take the hands around the back of the head. Lay the spine down to the ground. And the knees, and bringing the foot at a time back down to the floor. We're going to take the hands this time from behind the head, alongside the body, palms facing down, and roll the shoulders underneath. So you get that little bit of a wriggle. And then again, we're going to draw the lower spine and down to the floor and belly in. Bring the knees in towards the body. Make sure you've got a beautifully long neck. Adjust if you need to. And then we're going to extend the toes up towards the sky. Now, all we're going to do is take a breath in and then try and lift the hips up towards the sky and then let the hips come back down. So we don't want to use any other muscles, just curling the abdominal muscles up. You'll feel the muscles across the front of the body that tense up as well. It's a little lift. We're trying to make it progressive. Down. If you get more than an inch, you're doing really well. A little bit of effort going into the arms, just for balance rather than anything else. Avoid letting the head pull to the back of the mat and the chin move away from you. So keep the spine nice and long. Lift. And then back down. Whew, that's a lot of effort. Should not get very far. We'll take the arms out nice and wide. Take a little breath and then bring the knees in towards the body. Now squeeze the thighs together a little bit. I'm going to float the legs over towards the right side, keeping the knees and thighs together and away from the ground, keeping the shoulders flat to the floor. As soon as you start to feel the shoulders lift, you start to bring the legs back up and you avoid pressing into the arms. So the action comes from the core rather than from using the external limbs. Keep the feet flexed a little bit. Remember to exhale on the way up and inhale on the way down. Okay, we'll draw the knees finally in towards the body. Take the hands on top of the kneecaps and just allow ourselves to make some circles with the hips. The knees rolling around in nice big juicy circles. The upper end of the hip bone just getting a little bit of a ball and socket moving around. And we'll take legs in the opposite direction. Just a few times. We'll draw the knees in and roll onto the right side. Hands that press into the floor to lift back up. Cross the ankles. Draw the feet in. Come forwards. Into tabletop. Tuck toes underneath. Lift into down dog. And then come into a plank. I'm going to take the feet over to the left side. I want to be on the side edge of both feet. So one foot in front of the other, side on. Lift the hips up as high as you can. Right hand lifts. Take a little breath. It's the twisty version of plank that we love on the side. So the hand comes under, exhale, touches the floor behind. Inhale it up. Exhale. We'll bring the hand down to the floor. Into plank. To the other side. Lift up. Set feet up. They're flexed. Side on. Hip to lift that little extra lift. Around underneath for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And back into plank. Knees to the floor, elbows to the ground. Palms just press together a little bit. Elbows are shoulder distance apart. We come into Sphinx pose. Press the elbows down, roll the shoulders back, belly in, lengthen out through the legs, and press the thighs down. Okay, going to release down to the floor. Bring the hands back underneath the ribs. Press away to lift up. All fours. Take the hands right into the front of the mat. Shoulders over wrists. Back into down dog. Bend the knees. Wave forward through that plank. Come back into down dog. Bend the knees. Float through. Back into down dog. Bend the knees. Float through. Back into down dog. Going to change it up. Take the right leg into scissor. Come forwards into plank. 3 legs. Back into down dog, keeping the leg high. Moving forwards, plank. And back to dog. Final plank. Back to dog, foot to the floor. Other leg lifts up into the scissor. Forwards. And back. Forwards. And back. One last time. Inhale. And exhale. Lower the foot to the floor, bend the knees. Come to the ground, we spin the feet out. Take the block behind. Sitting down. Legs out in front. We'll take the right foot underneath and out to the left hip. Bring the left foot across and over for a seated twist. Settle the sitting bones to the floor. Right arm left, so we rotate round. Tilt the pelvis forwards a little bit, lift the chest up, roll the shoulders back. And we can release. And take it across to the other side. I'm going to release from there and take the legs forwards. Just slide my bottom off the block. Easier said than done. Put that towards the back of the mat. Take a little breath from here. Allow ourselves to take the feet nice and wide apart. Soften the knees a little bit and then rock onto the front edge of the sitting bones. Allow yourself to lift the body up high as you start to press out through the heels again. Toes towards the sky, feet are flexed. Draw the body forwards and slide the hands out towards the outer edge of the feet. Press out through the heels a little bit. Draw the shoulders back and wide. Lengthen the chest forward to try and keep the body as flat and long as you can. So you're hinging over those hips. And then we'll release and lift back up. Now we'll bring the legs back towards each other. Little bend in the knees, hands on the shins, draw the spine up, and we fold forwards again. Just like we did earlier on. Hands either around the sides, edges of the foot, or down the ankles. Lift the body forwards. Press out through the heels a little bit. Draw the shoulders back and keep them nice and wide. Legs lengthen out a little more, just avoiding pressing down through the knees. Pressing out through the heels. Feel all sorts of lovely little fibers of muscles in different places moving around when you try to move your legs in a way a little different to how they maybe want to first move. Last breath in, slowly, and bring the feet back in. Hands behind, I'm going to roll down, chin in towards the chest, and take that block underneath the back of the head. Make sure my waist belt doesn't dig into my back. Take the arms out wide. I'm going to have the feet wide as well. I'm going to let them just rock over to the left to start with. Let them hang down. Breathing really easy, just letting the legs do what the legs want to do. Now we'll take the legs back up on an exhale. Reset the body in any way that needs, and then roll over to the opposite side. trying to release. We've done lots of work on activating. Now we'll go in the opposite way. I'll bring the knees back up again. And we'll slide the heels gently out. Corner edges of the mat. Hands a little closer alongside of the body, palms facing up. Okay, just a little wriggle. Make sure to settle everything into place. And then softening the eyes, just letting yourself drift a little bit. Just easing into the feeling of letting go, focusing on that. So we're not devoid of thought, still concentrating, but we're concentrating on letting go, which is not easy. Slowly begin to stretch the fingers and toes. Let the wrists and the ankles join. Deepen the breath a couple of times on the inhale and exhale. Use that energy for a stretch. And finally, slide the heels back in. And then allowing yourself to have that gentle hug, rock, whatever feels good. Remember, less is more at this stage. And then we'll finally roll onto the right side. Press into the ground as we exhale. Lift ourselves back up into a happy sitting posture. Letting the spine lengthen. Bringing the hands in towards the heart. Taking a breath in. As we begin to exhale, let the eyes close, chin drop. Belly draws to the spine. We bow to the floor. Seal our practice. Inhaling, letting the spine build. Lifting the head to open the eyes. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me. Hope you enjoyed. See you on the mat again soon.